Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm your host, Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Bob Huggins has done it again in the transfer portal. He hasn't landed just one or two big transfers. He has landed several, and he's got another big transfer with RaeQuan Battle, a 6'5", 190-pound guard from the Montana State Bobcats. This is another big addition for West Virginia to potentially help propel them to be a top half team in the Big 12. And maybe even better than that, who knows. But RaeQuan Battle should not be slept on, even though he is from a small school in Montana State. I'm going to go over how important I think RaeQuan Battle could be for West Virginia next season and how good of a job I think Bob Huggins is doing in the transfer portal. Now, RaeQuan Battle, again, is a 6'5", 190-pound guard, and he was a former four-star recruit out of high school, and his journey did not start at Montana State. He did commit to the Washington Huskies to play for them out of high school, but he did not have a lot of success with Washington in his home state team, and he decided to transfer to the Montana State Bobcats, and he had much more success with them, and now he is ready to make the leap back up to the Power 6 level. He averaged 17.7 points per game, 2.9 rebounds, and 0.9 assists this past season for Montana State, so he had great numbers at a smaller school. And whenever you get a guy that's averaging over 15 points per game from a smaller school, especially a guy that is a veteran, which RaeQuan Battle is, he has been in college for several years now, that is always a good sign, and that's why a lot of big programs were wanting RaeQuan Battle, because of the fact he is a guy that I think is ready to make the jump, and he wants to prove that he can play at a high level in the Power 6, and I think he definitely will play a big role for the West Virginia Mountaineers next season. And he shot 46.9% from the field, 35.3% from the three-point line, and 83.3% from the free throw line. Two of those numbers are great. One, you would like to be a bit higher. I think the three-point shooting should be a bit better, maybe around 37-38% because of the fact he was at a smaller school, but maybe because he was having to take most of the shots for Montana State from the outside because they didn't have the best basketball team in the world. Maybe that's why he only shot 35%. So it could improve with West Virginia next year, but 83% at the line is solid, and for a 6'5" guard, 47% shooting from the field, you can't do much better than that. So I do think that RaeQuan Battle will be able to slide right into West Virginia's rotation and have a lot of success next season. And he's going to have Kerr Kriisa at point guard, passing the basketball to him. Kerr Kriisa, the transfer portal guard from the Arizona Wildcats, is coming, and that shows you that Bob Huggins has done a fantastic job in the transfer portal so far, and he's had to do it because West Virginia has 0 high school recruits coming in. Bob Huggins, it's a risky living, but he's putting all of his eggs in the transfer portal basket, and he's landing some big fish out of the portal, so I think that that is a good sign for the Mountaineers program, that they are starting to trend back in the right direction and could have a lot of success next season as long as Bob Huggins can mesh the talent together. But I think Kerr Kriisa will definitely be able to set up RaeQuan Battle at a high level. RaeQuan Battle will not have to have the ball in his hands as much as he did when he was at Montana State. He'll be able to play more off the ball, have a lot of ball screens being set for him. He can come off those screens and get those passes from Kerr Kriisa and be able to play at a high level. And that's not all that West Virginia has. Jesse Edwards, the former center from Syracuse, he transferred to West Virginia earlier this month, and Jesse Edwards is a fantastic player. The biggest name of the transfer portal gets for the Mountaineers. You would think if Kerr Kriisa was the biggest one, then West Virginia would be in great shape. But no, Jesse Edwards is also transferring to the West Virginia Mountaineers. And when you're looking at West Virginia's roster, all of the big holes in the starting lineup are being filled. The point guard position is filled with Kerr Kriisa. The two guard spots filled with RaeQuan Battle. You've got the center in Jesse Edwards who can block shots, who's a great defender, who's also a good guy on the post, getting rebounds and also getting putbacks and dunking the basketball at a high level. He's not a big three-point shooter, but he is a guy that can do a lot on the block. And you also have Trey Mitchell coming back, a fantastic forward that can play the 4 spot for West Virginia next season. If Trey Mitchell takes another leap from where he was last year, pair with these other players that West Virginia is bringing in, you can just continue to see how good West Virginia could be. Jose Perez is also a guy that West Virginia is bringing in through the transfer portal. He was there on the West Virginia team last year, but he was not eligible to play, but he will be able to play now, and he could definitely be a rotational guard for the West Virginia Mountaineers, unless Bob Huggins wants to have Kerr Kriisa and Jose Perez play in the backcourt, and then have RaeQuan Battle at the 3, and then also have Trey Mitchell and Jesse Edwards at the 4 and 5 spots. But there's a lot of options for West Virginia because you also have Joe Toussaint coming back that will be able to be behind Kerr Kriisa at that point guard spot and be a backup point guard. So the point guard spot is completely filled for West Virginia. They have everything figured out there, and Omar Silverio is transferring in from Manhattan. He averaged 11 points per game for Manhattan this past season, and he's a 6'3" guard, so he'll definitely factor into the rotation as well as a backup 2 guard. But West Virginia, they didn't bring in high school players. They don't have that many returning players that are that great. Besides Trey Mitchell, they have a few other rotational depth pieces, but the transfer portal is where West Virginia has made their living. And can Bob Huggins get West Virginia with all of his talent that they're bringing in to have a lot of success next season? I think he can, and I think they could be a top half team in the Big 12 for sure, potentially a top 25 team that easily makes the NCAA tournament. I don't know if they'll be able to contend for a Big 12 title. Maybe they don't have a good enough team for that, but they could be in that conversation because these are really talented players that West Virginia is bringing in, and they deserve to have the #1 ranked recruiting class in the transfer portal of all the teams that are out there. Maybe besides Arkansas, I've seen some people debate that Arkansas could still be better, but West Virginia is definitely in the conversation for the #1 transfer recruiting class, and I think they definitely should be the #1 transfer recruiting class because of the amount of talent that Bob Huggins has brought in. I feel like West Virginia is doing a fairly good job in NIL, and West Virginia was an attractive place because Bob Huggins is a great coach. He's been coaching college basketball for so long, and these players believe in him that they're going to be able to mesh that talent together. But if you can get Kerr Kriisa playing at a high level, shooting the basketball at a high level, passing the ball at a high level like he did at Arizona, but even being able to improve at that even more because Kerr Kriisa is not going to have that competition of Colin Boswell that he had at Arizona this past season. He'll be able to come in and be the bona fide starter for West Virginia next season at that point guard spot. Not have to worry about Joe Toussaint taking that spot away from him. Then Kerr Kriisa will probably improve for West Virginia next year. RaeQuan Battle is a hungry player that wants to prove that he can play at this high of a level. Another big addition for West Virginia. A great job by Bob Huggins not to overlook a player like him from Montana State, a former 4-star recruit that committed to Washington out of high school. He's definitely a player with a lot of upside, still averaged 17.7 points per game this past season for Montana State. If he can be a guy that averages around 11, 12 points per game this next season for West Virginia, it drastically improves the Mountaineers' ceiling next year. I really like Jesse Edwards as a basketball player, and I think he still has an NBA future ahead of him if he can improve in certain areas because a great shot blocker is always needed in the NBA, and Bob Huggins being able to bring him over, this is the best shot blocking that West Virginia's had in probably a decade. Oscar Tshiebwe, we never got to see how good of a player he could have been for West Virginia, so now you have Jesse Edwards, and he'll definitely be able to compete with the other bigs in the Big 12 next season and be able to help the Mountaineers have a lot of success down low. You're not going to have to worry about that center spot, and Trey Mitchell is one of the best do-it-all players in the Big 12. He's a guy I think could take another leap, and if both Trey Mitchell and Jesse Edwards average around 15 points per game next season for West Virginia, which is very possible, then the front court for the Mountaineers could be one of the best front courts in the country next season, and especially in the Big 12, and that will definitely help them be able to rebound at a high level, and the fact you've got Joe Toussaint, Jose Perez, and Omar Silverio, which will all be rotational players for West Virginia. The starting unit and potential depth pieces West Virginia has could be one of the best in college basketball. I don't know if the Mountaineers have one of the most deepest teams in college basketball for next season, but they definitely have one of those talent, and getting RaeQuan Battle is just another big addition for Bob Huggins. He's going to be a hungry player that wants to move up to the Power 6 level, and I think he's going to play at a high level next season. And if Bob Huggins can mesh all of this talent together, which I think he will be capable of doing, then West Virginia could be a dangerous team in college basketball next year. They could be one of the best teams in the Big 12, and they more than likely will be a top 25 team in college basketball next season. I'm really looking forward to seeing how good West Virginia can be next season, and RaeQuan Battle is just another great addition out of the transfer portal for Bob Huggins and company. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about the West Virginia Mountaineers also getting RaeQuan Battle out of the transfer portal, and whether you think Bob Huggins could be able to mesh all of this transfer portal talent together to make West Virginia a great team in college basketball next season. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.